All right, that's the explanation. Let's try and make sense of it for you now. Bring in legal expert Dr. Felix Dube, live to us via our video link this morning. Dr. Dube, great to have you with us. Thanks very much indeed for making time. I hope you heard what Mzwanele Manyi was attempting to explain yesterday. Do you follow what he means?
Good morning, Ayanda. Greetings to the viewers also. This is a very, very interesting but complex development in our law because we are not dealing with ordinary South Africans. We are talking about a current and former president. So when they take each other to court, not just in civil litigation, but with criminal charges, then we know that the political grievances that underlie that relationship are big. They are huge. But perhaps I should start by contextualizing the private prosecution process. Just in short, my understanding is that it was designed to enable persons who feel that they have been let down by the investigating and prosecuting authorities to obtain justice for themselves. So, for instance, there are many cases in which victims of crimes and even very serious crimes find themselves without a voice because either the investigators or the prosecutors did not believe that there was sufficient ground to arrest and prosecute persons responsible for such crimes. And this sense of injustice is not just peculiar to South Africa, but it also manifests in international criminal courts and the tribunal. Hence, in South Africa, Parliament gave them this option to undertake a private prosecution, but on the condition that a refusal to prosecute, which is also known as a nolle prosequi, has been issued by the relevant Director of Public Prosecutions pertaining to the accused and the alleged offense. I have not yet been favored with the full set of documents concerning this issue, but from the little that I have seen on the media is that the omission, or rather the crime with which the president is charged with, is one of that he failed to act in particular circumstances when he should. Look at the Constitution, Section 179, I think, subsection 6. It says that the Minister of Justice, who is responsible for the administration of justice, has the final say on the conduct of the prosecuting authority. And who is his boss? That is the president. So I am understanding that this is where this issue arises from.
That's very interesting. Let's hone in on this condition of the refusal to prosecute that needs to come from some kind of prosecuting body, right? So the Jacob Zuma Foundation, if my understanding of their logic holds, believes that they do have that, you know, because the last certificate they received speaks about any other involved persons, and I'm paraphrasing, as they gun for Billy Downer. Does this certificate from the NPA need to have, for instance, in this particular case, the president's name on it for the Jacob Zuma Foundation and by extension the former president to privately prosecute the incumbent?
As I understand it, and I have read the Criminal Procedure Act twice, probably thrice, there is no provision specifically that says the particular person must be named in that certificate. It only speaks of any other person. I would have expected that maybe if the legislature wanted that certificate to specifically name the person, it would have said so. But that is not in the Criminal Procedure Act. But the complexity, I think, that the president might face here, and I don't know how the courts are going to rule on it, is that that certificate issues a blanket nolle prosequi. It just says any person we can be charged with this crime based on these facts and affidavits that I have seen. I don't want to prosecute them. I am declining to prosecute. So that opens the net wide to include any person who might have been the perpetrator or the co-perpetrator, or might have been an accomplice, or might have been, as we see here, an accessory after the fact. But I think that is a matter that will have to be ironed out in court to say, if you say any other person, does it mean how wide is that net? Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I mean, can we drag in this conversation the Minister of Correctional Services, for argument's sake, and anybody else who might have been involved in that moment? I mean, if this, by the way, is a deficiency, for lack of a better term, would the NPA have dropped the ball?
As I understand it, this is the situation with granting these certificates. And remember, this country is just really getting used to this thing of private prosecution. It has always been there in our law, but it hasn't been robustly used as it is now. And basically, it hasn't been used by high-profile persons. So we're really just now trying to get to grasp it. But as I understand it from a Director of Public Prosecution's view, how would they know? Will they have to issue a certificate for each and every person? Let's say there are 200 accused persons, or there are 300 people who might have been involved in that issue. Should they issue 300 certificates? So that could be another thing in terms of the admin that they have to do. But I'm of the view that whichever way it goes, if they can establish a case, then they should be allowed to prosecute. But if they do not have a case, then there will be an arbiter, or the president might accept to those charges.
Fascinating. There is obviously a lot of confusion. Dare I say there's a different interpretation even of the law. Are you saying it will have to be the courts that are the final arbiters around whether or not, quite frankly, this private prosecution can stick?
Yes. So as I see it, this matter will have to go to court, and probably these issues are going to be raised, and they are going to be raised robustly so, because we're going to expect a high-profile attorneys and senior counsel on that issue, because this matter involves very, very big people. So it will have to be argued in court, and it has to be dealt with. What we are not so sure now is at which stage will this issue really matter. Because once the matter goes to court and the charges are put to the accused, then it's one way through. The matter has to proceed, and at the end of the prosecution's case, the judge can say, you know what, I am acquitting. I don't see any charges that can stick here. Nothing has really been put that can convince me beyond reasonable doubt that an offense was committed. But then if the judge feels that there is a question to be answered here, the accused has to be put to their defense, they have to put that information to the court, then it will be up to the defense to put those things, and then after that they will have to argue at the end of the trial. They have to argue to convince the judge whether to convict or not to convict. But I think it's a long way through. It's not just going to be finalized anytime soon, in my view.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very quickly, Doc, at which stage then can we say that the incumbent has been charged, technically speaking?
Yes. So this is a question that on which there is a lot of debate on it. From my understanding is that in as much as you might have an indictment and all those things, but then the charges have to be formally put before the accused in front of the judge, so that the judge would know that the charges have been put to this person formally, so in front of me, I have noted it down, and I know those charges. So what we have right now, as I understand, there's been a summons, and that summons has been accompanied by an indictment. So I wouldn't want to commit to this because there is a lot of debate on it. But since this matter is being brought to court by way of summons, I will be more cautious to say that the accused has been formally charged when those charges have been put to them in front of a judge. That's just my view, although we still have that indictment also. So
all right. Well,
it's just how one sees it, but there's a lot of debate on that.
Sure, absolutely. What a time. Dr. Felix Dube, thanks very much indeed for giving us your take. Really do appreciate it. Dr. Dube is a legal analyst.